So you go to just Google 3 joules Ustream, and then it should come up. Yeah, I'm sure you've done that.
Yeah.
So in this lineage in the tradition, before we start a class, the teacher does prostrations generally to the altar. In these classes, what we have done is we've prostrated in a circle towards each other, and I personally like that quite a lot. So I'll be doing that right now, and you don't have to at all. You can stay put, but also you can if you like. So that's up to you. And the prostration is basically you're asking for the mind of a Buddha to become like that, right? The three doors of expression. You're asking to become pure. You're asking. I mean, you can ask anything as you prostrate, but I'd like to ask for blessings, for help, to understand the teachings, or to teach the teachings, and ask to become enlightened. When we start these classes, there's always opening prayers, and we'll be doing them in English today, so you know what we're saying. And in time we might move over to Tibetan, but I think for now it's really nice to know what you're saying. You have them in front of you.
I can share with you, because I don't have them memorized.
Sure.
And then when we do these, you can make a little offering bowl with your hands, or you can do it the traditional way, which is a little bit more complicated. It's like you're offering the mountain 4 continents. You'll see what we're offering. If you want to try it, yeah, you cross over your pinkies and you pull them back with your thumbs.
That's right, you got that.
And then your ring fingers go up, and then you cross over your middle fingers and you pull them back down with your... And that's going to take a lot of practice, and don't worry about that at all. But this is what it's supposed to look like.
Hold the thumbs up.
You can start first. So cross your pinkies, pull them with your thumbs.
Should you start over? Okay.
Okay.
Like that.
And
then towards the thumbs. Towards the thumbs, and hold down just the pinkies.
Yeah.
Hold
It's better that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then these up.
These up, yeah. And then cross your middle fingers. And then hold them down.
Okay.
You can hold here, yes, this one, and that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Sort of like that,
So
and
like
then
this
try to open, stretch it out, so you,
Oh,
that's it, yeah.
oh, you got it?
There you go.
Hey, nice.
Yeah.
Oh my, I have to practice that one.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's gonna take, a couple hundred times probably before you do it very easily. So we recite this together. Here's the great earth, filled with the smell of incense, covered with a blanket of flowers. The great mountain, the 4 continents, wearing a jewel of the sun and the moon. In my mind, make them a paradise of Buddha, and offer it all to you. By this deed, may every living being experience the pure world. Idam Guru Ratna Mandalakam Niryatayam. And then you unfold and you keep your hands in prayer by your heart as we move through the next verse, the next the refuge prayer, which is the prayer we do 3 times. I go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I achieve enlightenment. By the power of the goodness that I do in giving and the rest, may I reach Buddhahood for the sake of every living being. I go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I achieve enlightenment. By the power of the goodness that I do in giving and the rest, may I reach Buddhahood for the sake of every living being. I go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I achieve enlightenment. By the power of the goodness that I do in giving and the rest, may I reach Buddhahood for the sake of every living being. And all of this will make more sense as you go on. I think I'm going to need a little clock so I have some idea.
I can give you my phone.
I'm sure.
Do you want like a stopwatch or just?
No, just so
You'll just have to hit it again and again because it will go into.
Okay, so this course it's the first step into logic. So these courses there's 18 courses total. And this is course number 4. And you can start anywhere, it doesn't matter. I mean, of course it's nice to start with one, but one doesn't come around that often, so you can jump in anywhere you want. So this is the first course that goes a little bit into logic. And logic is a big part of Tibetan Buddhism. This course particularly is about past and future lives, proving them. But the major purpose of studying logic in Tibetan Buddhism is to prove things like emptiness and karma, and then past and future lives. So we're starting here with past and future lives. I do think it's important to touch lightly on, even though it's not the topic of this course, what is karma and what is emptiness. Karma and emptiness they call it like just 2 sides of the same coin. You cannot have one without the other. They need the both. They're always there. So karma, what's karma? You want to take a guess? I mean, we all hear the word quite a lot, especially in at yoga studios and stuff. What would, do you want to say something about karma? What do you think it is?
I think she said it was like the waves in your brain or something like that.
The waves in your brain?
I don't know. Like karma determines how you view objects that are empty.
Okay.
I don't know. I didn't really understand it that well. But
Yeah. No, you have to hear it many times, many times in order to understand it. Yeah, what you're saying is definitely has truth to it. So karma is, the idea is quite simple. In fact, but we're going to need logic because it's not as simple as it seems, because, let's see. We say that karma is movement of the mind. And anything you do is a cause. So, say I'm saying something nice to Shaz. I'm planting a karmic seed in my mind, right? right? I'm saying something nice to you. This cause is going to ripen into somebody saying something nice to me. Could be you, could be anybody, okay? So it's action, it's everything you do. And everything you do will come back. And there's lots of ways how it can come back, depending on what your motivation is at the moment of my action. If I'm saying something nice to Shaz, and I'm saying it out of love, out of kindness, it will have a different result than if I say something nice to Shaz when I'm not feeling very nice towards you, okay? So it's like that with everything. Everything we do, everything great that you are experiencing in your life is a result of something great you have done before. And everything difficult that you're experiencing in your life is a result of something that you have put in place before. So it's a really good topic to study because you can learn how to manipulate it, right? How to put karma into place to see your world transform into a much nicer place. And mindfulness is extremely important in this whole thing, right? Because if you can keep a close eye on what you are doing, what you are thinking, then you can change.
Can you say, so this point in my life, or this moment in time, is the result of my karma? All of my karma of...
Absolutely. Yeah.
Because that's what brought me here, everything.
Everything led up to this
point.
moment. Yeah. Yeah.
That is karma.
Yeah.
That is
Well,
my
they
karma.
actually say that you don't have karma, you are karma.
I am, okay.
Yeah.
I am the result.
Yeah. Yeah,
of
and it's
everything,
changing,
all my
right?
experience.
It's changing every second.
Mm-hmm.
And you can, in a period of half an hour, you can have all sorts of things happen, right? You can be extremely happy, grateful, you can be sad, you can, have a physical thing happen, like it can shift and go very quickly, all depending on what you have in place. It could also just kind of go steady for years and years and years where you kind of feel, things are going well, it's nothing too exciting, nothing too bad, it's okay. Well, it's all a result of somewhat neutral karmas that you have put in place. So when you put karmas in place with, they say I said that before, if you have good motivation, like strong motivation, if I say something nice to you, where I feel extremely kind and love for you, then that will have a different result. Also, that would be more powerful than if I would kind of be neutral, my motivation, or negative, of course. But also if you do an action towards a high object, which would be someone that you see in a high light, and that could be, in these teachings they always say parents are very high object because of them you're here, right? It doesn't matter if your relationship is good or not good with them right now. That's entirely beside the point. Thanks to them, you're here. You have a human life and a pretty sweet one, So they are considered very high object. Also your teacher, if you have someone in your life that you see as a teacher, and that can be someone who's alive that you have in your life, or it can be somebody who's already passed on, or someone could be like God. It could be the Dalai Lama, like whatever your karmic seeds are, whoever you see as that, right? So when you do any kind of action towards a high object, then the karma will be greater. And also they say karma is more powerful if you do something repeatedly, which makes sense too, right? If you do something every day, then yeah, you'll reap the results. So that's a brief thing on karma. There's courses on this, and we'll always talk about karma because it's so important, right? And emptiness. Shaz already said it. Emptiness is a little bit tricky to explain because it is, it's actually a lack. It's a negative. It's something that doesn't exist. And we always want to point at something, this is what it is. But this is something that it's not. So that makes it confusing. And in this tradition, often the example is given of a pen. Can I use a... Thank you. And you have to hear this many, many times. But what is this? A pen. Pen. We see this as a pen. If a dog would walk into this room, would the dog see a pen? No, wouldn't see a pen, right? What would the dog see?
A chew toy or something.
Yeah, something to chew on.
Something.
Yeah. If you show this pen to a baby, does the baby know this is a pen? No. They'll probably also want to grab it and put it in their mouth, something, right? And then a person that has never seen a pen, like maybe someone who lives in a faraway jungle that has never seen it. Like, would they see pen? No, they wouldn't. What would they see?
Something foreign.
Something foreign.
Foreign object.
Yeah, they might want to use it as a tool or something, right? I don't know. So with that, we could say the pen is not in the pen. Because if the pen was in the pen, then the dog would see a pen, the jungle person would see a pen, the baby would see a pen, right? Everybody would see a pen, because the pen would say, "Hi everyone, I'm a pen." And that's not happening. So it means something else is going on, you know. Somehow you are labeling it as a pen because you have the karmic seeds to see it as a pen. If you don't have the karmic seeds to see it as a pen, you cannot see it as a pen. So that is the emptiness of the pen. Pen is not in the pen. And the thing about that is that that counts for everything. You know, we can all look at Turnjeet right now and we see something different. Each of us sees something different, right? We all have a different story that we put upon her and project, depending on our seeds, on our kindness. If I've been extremely kind, then I'll be forced to, hi, yeah, please do. Then I'll be forced to see beauty, right? Then I'll be forced to see Turnjeet as this amazingly beautiful woman, which thankfully I do. But it could be different, right? So basically, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 5 different Turnjeets in this room because we all see something different. Okay. So Turnjeet, the way we see Turnjeet doesn't come from Turnjeet. Turnjeet is empty of Turnjeetness. The way we see her will depend entirely on our projection. Okay, so that's how karma and emptiness come together. You plant seeds, the more virtuous seeds you plant, the more beautiful your world becomes. So we won't be proving emptiness in this course. But like I said, karma and emptiness is a returning subject that will always be woven into everything we do. So in this course, we are trying to prove past and future lives. Okay, so they say that in this what we're studying here, in the monastery, monks will start to study this really like 2 to 3 years before their final geshe exam. So it's quite special that we're able to study this, because there's not very many people qualified to teach this subject. And the scriptures are quite challenging to read. Fortunately, we have all these commentaries on it, so that will help us, which we'll talk about today. So basically what we get to learn, I think in the reading maybe next class, it's about a group of Hindus that doesn't believe in past and future lives. And they will come up with arguments, and they think that this is it. You have one life, and that's that. And in Buddhism, they don't agree with that. So it'll be, it's good because we have actually that idea in this society too, that there is only one life. So it's similar to what many of us have been brought up with. So we can start to think about, the reasons, and we'll, yeah. They went on to fight about it for about 200 years, these two groups, the Buddhists and the Hindus. So we'll see how we'll do here.
Is this one of the ACI, actual ACI courses?
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah, on the forum. Did you want to introduce yourself quickly to this? No?
I'm Zoe.
Hi, Zoe.
Hi.
So Taranjeet, Jan, Shaz, and Sean.
Okay.
So we'll be touching on that. And then we're also are going to look at different levels of reality. And that's important because things as emptiness and the laws of karma, they're in a different level of reality. We cannot perceive them with our normal senses. So we need to learn a little bit about that. We're going to talk about pramana also, which is in the 3rd class, which means correct perception. And then in the 4th class, we'll talk about who has pramana, and that slides into how does a Buddha think, which is quite interesting. It is almost unthinkable to try to get how a Buddha thinks. And then in the 5th class, we'll talk about omniscience of beings, or that are not omniscience. 6th class, we'll talk about how did the Buddha get his omniscience. So how did the Buddha become a Buddha? Which I find very interesting, because the Buddha started out like any of us, right? And for me, personally, that's very hopeful when we learn from beings that have gone through, from being like born as a normal person to become enlightened in that lifetime, right? So what do you go through? And I love hearing stories from my own teachers too, with their struggles, and then see how they are now. I find it very encouraging, because it means that anyone can do it. Right? It's not a far-fetched idea that only certain people could. No, anybody can do it. When I first started to study, I actually didn't want to study because I have kids, and I thought, what hope is there for me, you know? I'm this crazy mom that's trying to keep herself together with these little kids, and I don't have time to think straight for 1 second, right? I cannot even go poo by myself without being disturbed by my kids, right? So I thought, how can someone like me become enlightened? And it's totally possible. So yeah, it's just a matter of learning how to use the life that you have as a path. And I certainly had no clue. So it's very, again, hopeful to know that it's possible, that you can use everything around you as a path to become happy and free of all your mental afflictions. So we'll study, how did the Buddha do it? He will tell us what he did to do it. Then in classes 7 to 9 will come the actual proofs for future and past lives. And then in the last class we'll talk about different qualities of the Buddha. So Geshe Michael Roach, who put these courses together, is telling that he was studying something, and he ran into the teacher of the Dalai Lama at the train station, who asked him, "So what are you studying?" And he's like, I don't know. I forgot. I don't know the name. I don't know the description. I don't know who wrote what I'm studying. I don't know. Hi. So it's important to know what you are studying. And so in case you run into, you know, the Dalai Lama or someone like it, you can tell them what you're studying, so you don't look like a fool. It's good to know, right? It's good to know what you're studying. So if anybody would ask you what you are studying, you're studying Sema. Sema is Tibetan. Sema means correct perception, and in Sanskrit it's pramana. So in the monastery, there's 5 great subjects that you must study. And I'll just quickly list them, you don't need to remember that. But just to make a point, is like the perfection of wisdom, you study for 12 years in a monastery. Hi, sweetheart. Majjhimika is 4 years. Vinaya, monk's vows, is 2 years. And Abhidharma is 2 years. And then every winter, they take off 3 months of the study to only study pramana, which is what we're going to study these 10 weeks. So it kind of shows you that it is a very important thing to study. It's like how to prove something. Pramana is you study how to prove something, yeah, how to reason. So pramana is the correct perception, which means normal perception. Which means any perception that you have without being screwed up in a moment by, it could be by anything, like maybe you have a bout of anger. You cannot think straight, you cannot see things straight. But it doesn't have to be a mental affliction like that. It could also be, say you're crossing or you're driving your car and you see something, you think it's a squirrel, but actually it's just a leaf, right? Then you don't have a pramana in that moment. Okay? So pramana is a correct perception, seeing something as it is without being disturbed by alcohol also, right? Or drugs or whatever. It can alter the way you see things. So pramana is when you see things without any of that. Okay?
would you say that it's a true perception of something as you know it, or a true perception of something in its emptiness?
As you know it.
As you know it?
And this, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, good question. So about 99% of our perceptions throughout the day would be correct perception. Okay. And I know for myself that when I have this fit of anger or jealousy, in that moment, it seems very true, right? What I'm seeing or thinking. Although part of me knows that it's not, but I really want to believe what I'm seeing is true, and so I'm right or something, right? I don't know. So keep that in mind. So when that passes, then you see it clearly. Oh my God, what was I thinking? You know, I totally ran with that story, or you know. But generally, what we perceive in a day would be pramana. So how do you know something exists? Because you have a pramana, and that is what the definition of Buddhism is. Definition of existence in Buddhism is anything perceived by a pramana. So you saw it without being under the influence of alcohol or drugs or anything that would distort your perception. Therefore, it exists. That's the definition of existence. By a pramana perceived. I'll say it in Tibetan too. Setseme,
Same.
Mikpa,
Mikpa.
Jupe,
Jupe.
Zeni.
Seni.
Okay, so that's the definition of existence. By pramana perceived. By the way, by these courses, if you like, you can get a binder printed, which has all the readings in it, as well as homeworks and quizzes, should you wish to do that. If you are interested in that, talk to Turnjit at the end of the class, and she'll get them printed, which cost, I don't know, it's not a really big binder, this one, so I don't think maybe around $15 or something, depending cost of the binder, I guess. So talk to her about it. And then you can also answer the homework questions, because I'm telling you all the answers in this class. Okay. So, Kejub-J, who was one of Jason Kappa's main disciples. Jason Kappa is a very important figure in our lineage because he started it. He made, I think, 10,000 commentaries on scriptures of the Buddha. Impossible task for any normal being. They say that he got his, that he met Maitreya, and that he got it directly transmitted, and that's how he was able to do this. So he had two main disciples, Kejub-J and Gyaltsab-J. And Gyaltsab-J is mainly famous for being a great logician. Kejub-J, who was saying, like, he was challenging people in saying that, how do you know that the Buddha exists? Like, people in Tibet, you're just taking it on blind faith. Give me 3 reasons why you know he exists. And most people wouldn't be able to tell you, right? So therefore, another reason to study logic, right? Because is it possible? Can you have a direct perception, a pramana, towards a Buddha? I don't think you can, unless you see the Dalai Lama as the Buddha, or as a Buddha, right? Or if you have anybody else in your life that you see as a Buddha. If you don't, then how do you have a direct perception? You don't. You haven't, physically seen. But, there's another way, and there's another kind of pramana, and that would be like indirect, through logic, right? Through logic, you can determine that a Buddha or Buddhas do exist, even though you can't see it directly with your eyes. Some people can. Some people see, their teachers as the Buddha themselves. Then you have a direct perception of Buddha. But if you don't, then you got to figure out in a logic way that it is possible that a Buddha can exist. So that's why this course will help us to figure it out. And they say that when you try to debate things out, which is very common in the Buddhist traditions, they debate every day for hours, right? They study during the day and then they debate at night to understand what they've studied. They say that we're not allowed to challenge people into things they're not ready for or not interested in, right? Like, my parents are very Christian, and they're very happy with their religion. So I would never, ever go to them and say, hey, that this is not your only life, you've had millions before and you'll have eons more after this one, I would never challenge a person like that, right? Because what their path is their path, and we need to respect what they're doing, and it can completely, 100% function for them, right? They have different karmic seeds. For me, my path looks different. My path looks like, and taking the Buddhist teachings, and that will hopefully help me reach my goals. And for my parents, it's the Christian path, and that's fully perfect, right? So never challenge someone that's not on your same line with thinking that your way is the way, right? Because says who, right? Not true. And they also say, so pick someone that's at your level, and then you can come together and try to figure out the truth. They also say, don't start to debate. It would be like if I would debate the Dalai Lama on proving future lives. Like that, they say that's a no-no also, because we know that he knows. He doesn't need me to tell him, right? So that's not the reason of logic. The reason of logic is trying to come to an understanding, and you can do that in your own mind or with someone who's in the same place as you. Okay, so I think that's very important. When I speak to my parents on the phone, I get to their level, and we talk about their ways that that they believe in, and I respect So the great schools of Buddhism have come down to us in a long chain. It's teacher to student, right? 2,500 years. And if you don't have students, then that it will end. And it's a little bit of a tricky time because many of the scriptures have been burned, and there's been a lot of great work missing. A lot of people have been killed in Tibet, right? That would have been able to pass it on. So it's a little bit of a tricky time for that. So therefore it's important to pass it on. So the chain won't get broken. The Sakyas, which is a Buddhist lineage, they have lost their logic tradition. At the time of this teaching, there were only 2 people left in that chain, and it's basically gone, right? So in the reading, this first reading, there's a little bit of an outline of these texts, how it came down from Lord Buddha, and it is important to know. So we have to go over the books that we will be studying from. And I call it the onion skin theory. Because every 500 years they need a new commentary because it's so hard to understand for this new generation. So then they need a new commentary in order to make sense out of it. So the first book was called the Compendium on Correct Perception. And that was the first book. That was written by Master Dignaga. It's a very difficult book. So the commentary we have on this book will be the main book that we'll be studying, and it's called the Commentary on Valid Perception. And that was written by Master Dharmakirti. And that book is called Sema Namdra, or in Sanskrit, Pramana Vartika, by Master Dharmakirti. It's around 630 AD. So Dharmakirti was a great logician, and he belonged to the South Tantrika school. Okay. So it's a little bit confusing because all these names. So the first one is Compendium on Correct Perception by Master Dignaga. Compendium means like collection, right? So he collected things that the Buddha had said and put it all in one place. And there's a big debate on when he was born, because we don't know very much about these people. But it's not that important when he was born. So then Dharmakirti, so the commentary on that one, Commentary on Valid Perception, he's explaining Master Dignaga's book. Because in between, some non-Buddhist people attacked the book, so he wanted to make it all clear. And the first book, The Correct Perception, the Compendium on Correct Perception in Tibetan is Sema Kuntu Chukla. Then the next commentary we have is called Tarlam Salje. Say Tarlam Salje. And that is called Light on the Path of Freedom. And that was written by Gyaltsab Je. So Gyaltsab Je, I don't know if you remember, I said earlier, is one of the spiritual sons of Jason Kappa. And Gyaltsab was already a good logician, and what they did in that time is they go around to different monasteries and debate each other. And Gyaltsab had heard that Jason Kappa was coming to town, or he followed him to wherever he went, and he wanted to debate him. He wanted to make him look like a fool. So he went, and as soon as Jason Kappa started speaking, Gyaltsab just fell on his feet and became his disciple, because he knew how special Jason Kappa was, how much wisdom he had. And Jason Kappa continued to teach Gyaltsab logic. And this will be also a homework question. Gyaltsab, he said about Jason Kappa that Jason Kappa taught him logic, and that was the kindest thing his great teacher ever did for him. And, you gotta think about that. I know that when I started the Buddhist studies, I just loved the information so much, and I actually didn't really want to think. I just wanted to accept it, Everything that my teacher was telling me, I'm like, great, just bring it on. And he kept saying, like, you need to have logic. You need to contemplate and think about this, and ask questions. And I felt like, I don't really want to, because I already believe it. I believe everything you say. Why should I go and torture myself and try to figure it out, what I already accept, right? And I think that would be a form of laziness. I think it's really important to figure it out, because when you figure it out for yourself, then it will hit you deeper. You'll understand it better from a different place, and you'll be able to explain it better to other people, which is very important, right? I mean, if anybody would come to me with a question, and my answer would be, well, because my teacher said so, it's true, no. It doesn't really work that way, right? So you need logic. You need logic to figure it out in your mind and have it ingrained even deeper. So that was Gyaltsab. And Gyaltsab's dates were 1362, it says here, though I just studied that it was 1364, so I don't know, until 1432. So that commentary has another commentary, which will be the last one we'll be discussing. And this one's called Sema Gonggen. Say Sema Gonggen. And that is the jewel of the true thought. By Geshe Wangchuk. And he was born in 1928. And I'm actually not sure when he passed away. He might, I don't know if he'd still be alive, actually. I tried to Google, but I couldn't find the answer. Because when these classes were composed, he was still alive and very active still in the things he did. But I don't know if he is still. Anyway, so he did this great commentary on Gyaltsab's book. And actually it got destroyed, so he wrote it 2 times. Yeah. It was burned in the Cultural Revolution. So the second time he wrote it, it was smuggled in a laundry bag. So this is very easy to read, so we'll be studying this one. Yeah. So the onion theory, I'll repeat them one more time just so you have them. The first one was Compendium on Correct Perception by Master Dignaga. And then the second one is the Commentary on Valid Perception by Master Dharmakirti. And then we have Light on the Path to Freedom by Gyaltsab J. And then the last one was Jewel, True Thought.
And what exactly is the onion skin theory?
Well,
Is that
just the
because you peel the layers
Yeah.
back to,
Yeah.
to history?
yeah, and then the Buddha would be the core of the
Gotcha.
onion. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, let's take a couple-minute break, stretch our legs, and then we'll finish the class. Some more tea if you like.
12:30 to about 2, sometimes we go a bit over. And then next week there is what? No, next week because there's a,
I'm great, how are you?
but they're doing a week.
Yeah.
Sorry?
No,
I just
I
love
just
to
had a
go.
shower last night.
So next week's canceled.
Yeah. Do you want to sit on the truck?
I'm okay. I might grab some of the fresh. Yeah, thank you.
Me? I would be at this. Yeah. No, it's fun. I was only smiling because you know when people say that to me, I'm like, I don't know why everyone says that. But,
Yeah, when we just got a face like a celebrity or something, and that's where you think you know the person.
but yeah. I don't know what to say.
Yeah.
It's cool. No, my friend just next to me.
Yeah.
I don't like to think it's still warm, but
It could just make it.
it's just lovely. But there is the black chai tea if you want that. How hot it is, but all one of us can eat. Okay.
Yeah, that's true.
Right, can I talk to you?
Yes, please.
Okay, got some tea?
Sure, thank you.
But I'll get some hot water.
We used to have this all.
Hi there. Fine.
Nina.
Anina?
No, Nina.
Just Nina.
N-I-N-A.
Okay. Jan.
Leon.
Jan.
Oh, Jan.
Just Jan.
Just Jan. Aren't we lucky?
Nice,
Got these
short,
really
sweet.
lovely names.
Yes.
Nice to meet you. Hi.
I'm Shazia.
Shazia?
Yeah.
Hi, Nina.
Hi.
Nice to meet you. Beautiful. Yeah, Shazia.
Sean,
Sean. Oh. This is Sean.
what's your name?
Nina.
Nina.
Sh.
Oh, you're nice to see you guys. Yeah. How's your trip?
Yeah.
How do you find questions? I ask a lot of questions.
No, it's
Is that
good.
okay?
Yeah, it's great. It shows me that you're listening. Keeps me on my toes too.
It was quiet.
Thinking about you.
Some people prefer them like afterwards, right? Because it throws your line of thought off.
Sometimes, yeah, but no, so far.
So far, so good?
Yeah.
Yeah. Beginner's yoga.
So if I was to complete this course, would I actually have a credit for the ACI?
She did, yeah.
Really?
And a certificate.
Oh, really? Okay. I didn't even know that was.
No.
We need to complete all the homework and physics to get the ACI the last few days.
No, it was just the
I
last.
didn't do any of the homework last time.
No. That's fine. I
Like,
think
I'm just
it
gonna
was
do
2 weeks later.
I think that's important.
Do group editing?
Goal to do it.
I don't know, I never really considered like meditation, because I was doing it since like I was
You hear and
14.
Oh, yeah.
Going home, escaping my room, just close my eyes and do it, and then I realized it was called meditation. Still do it, I don't like to sit up.
But you don't want to be overwhelmed with something.
I just
Sharing about it.
yeah.
Yeah.
I really check your meditation.
Even though there's no
So,
like one is supposed to be
we're gonna slap out of it.
Well, I
Still,
mean,
you feel like a one on
I like
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And you don't want it to be like that, right? You want it to be really like it's passionate. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
nice
actually quite cool.
It's nice to have you here. I'm glad that you teach us what. Anyways.
It's cool. What else do you do?
It's too bad that we will always get Fridays. Fridays are pretty close.
Okay.
Well, I mean, well, I saw, I guess I call it, coordinator.
Do you ever
Starting
work with
next
like
week of this year.
Oh,
So I have my in, yeah, you know, also.
no, I mean, I work with two cities.
Yes.
Okay.
I can't
Oh, I
believe
see.
it. It's great.
Okay.
Who knows?
Yeah. This is nice.
So, do you like your
I do, yeah. I do.
Very long time, and it feels really nice here.
Yeah, I'm just living over there. I love the studio for like mostly actors, but you know, I pitch out some good auditions, so or business guys that want to pitch out like for their clients.
I'm glad.
Yeah.
This is, you have an amazing sweater, I love this. Thank you.
Yeah, you know. Yeah, I always.
Really? Yeah.
It's gorgeous.
I was admiring it.
I do like on location stuff, so. On the website, a little bit, so.
So next week, we don't have a class.
Yeah, Tenchi was saying.
Okay, good.
Thank you. I have a question.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yes.
I was speaking with Christine
Mhm.
and Ram and John the other day about the heaven and hell realms, heaven and hell, and I just have a hard time accepting that,
Mhm.
you know? And they were saying that, well, you could see it as just people's ability to perceive different things in this world, you know, like if you're
Sure.
always full of poisonous thoughts, then you would be in a hell realm, that kind of thing. And that was more comfortable to me, like more, it resonated more. And I wonder with the past and the future lives, is it hard and fast that like it is a life, you know, behind this one and a life to go to after this one? Or is it maybe something that we could think of as a way of like perceiving or growth or like the stages mentally in one lifetime? You know what I mean?
Okay.
I'm trying to see if there's a shortcut. You know?
Well, you can get a lot done in one life. As far as purifying a lot of your negative deeds, you know, when you shine wisdom to it, you can transform your world within one lifetime into a paradise. Yeah, you can.
And do you think that maybe there's a way of looking at the past lives and the future lives as just kind of metaphors for the way that people change in one life?
Well, let's let's do this course and then see what you,
Sounds like a good plan.
yeah. We'll go through the proofs of how it could be that before you were born in this world, how it could have been that you came from, somewhere else. So it might help you answer these questions, and it's good that you think about it, and it's good to struggle with it. So I'm gonna let you struggle a little bit more. And then hopefully by the end of the course, you figured out something that, worked for you. And it could very well be that by the end of this course you don't buy into past and future lives at all. It's very possible, and that's totally fine. But don't diss it. Don't, just put it on the shelf and say, I can't accept this right now, and that's totally fine. But say to yourself that, that I don't accept it doesn't mean it can't be true. But it's fine if you don't want to buy into it right now. So they're saying that these books that we just mentioned, the writers of these books are more important than your grandparents. Your grandparents gave you life, which is very important, but this is giving you a way out of suffering, Therefore, it's very important. So in the monastery, they memorize every teacher, every lama, back to all the way to the Buddha. They have to know them, and they spend hours reciting their names and being grateful for all that has come down to pass on to us. I like that. It's nice. Kids, they will start studying logic in the monastery at the age of 13. And the books that we are going to study are too difficult for them. So there's 2 books for the kids that they touch on. And this will be in your homework question too. The first one is called Dura. Dura means collected topics. And this is about 15 to 20 topics in a collection that they will study. And I'll give you 3 of these topics. And we'll study those later on. But the first one is sensen. Say sensen. That means how do you define something? The definition of a definition. We need definitions for clarity, knowing that we're on the same page. Like it's very important. And what is a basic description? What are the rules for defining something? So that's the first thing they learn, or one of the first 3 of the 15. The second one is shidra, means, say shidra? Shidra means outline. And that's a complete breakdown of all existing things. Details everything that exists. So you cover all the existing objects in the world. And the last one is Chi-Chedrak. That's the study of general and specifics. Which means say, you have cars as like a general, and then Volvo would be a subcategory. And the study of this one alone can lead you to have the realization that everyone that studies Tibetan Buddhism is after, which is called the direct perception of emptiness. And so this is a very important Chi-Chedrak. Because when you see the direct perception of emptiness, you'll be on your way out, and you will become a Buddha sooner than later. you'll have good rebirths after that, if you have rebirths, because you can actually, if you go end up in the higher teachings, you can complete it in one lifetime. But if you wouldn't, then they say 7 lifetimes. It's kind of general after. So when you've seen emptiness directly, you'll have good rebirths. You have good teachers. Everything is set up for your enlightenment. So basically, you know, I was speaking about the pen earlier, trying to explain what emptiness is. When you see emptiness directly, then you just know. After you've seen it, you know that everything you see, everything you hear, everything you perceive, it's a projection. You are labeling all the time, and you're doing it because of your past deeds. That's how you see things, right? So it's very clear when you have figured this out, when you have had this deep realization, which involves you going to a different level of reality, and you shoot up. And when you come down, you have no more doubt that this is it, and this is the way out. You understand how things really, truly work. And your wisdom is complete, so you know exactly how things work, and then it'll be very easy to put in place the causes for you to finish off. So logic can help you get there. And that's the whole goal of why we're doing this. Because, yeah. Geshe Michael actually speaks about this high Tibetan Lama who chose to read this Dura on his deathbed, which, you know, this was meant for 13-year-old kids. And, you know, he said, well, shouldn't you be having some high tantric manual to read while you're dying? He said, no. Don't, actually. So that's interesting. He felt it was the most important preparation for his next life. So we had the one topic. So there were two. I said there were 2 books for the kids, right? One was the Dura, which included those 3 that I just mentioned, and then the second one is called Tukrik. Say Tukrik.
Great.
And that is the study of formal logic and reasoning. How to make a reason. And that's ACI 13, actually. We'll study that. This course that we're doing now is kind of a baby version of the big number 13, which is quite a challenging course. Yeah. All right. So the reading of this class has Geshe Wangchuk's life story in it, and it's very sweet reading. And the other reading, there's 2 readings, short readings, talks about the Buddha, because he's the core of the onion, right? He taught all this before the commentaries were made. And the classic statement, which is also in your homework, why you need logic, the Buddha says, if anyone who cannot read another person's mind perfectly, they judge another, they will fall. And meaning they'll go down, they'll go to hell, right? So that is the main reason why we would study logic, is so we don't judge other people. That's the main thing. And it's so important because we judge all the time, right? All the time. And if you cannot, treat people nicely because of something they do. Like, if you can't keep yourself from judging in that moment, at least like don't hurt them, right? Try to be kind, so you don't plant those coming seeds that won't have pleasant results. Everything you do, you can dissect any situation. I'll tell you a situation that happened to me last week. I was in the car, someone else was driving, and there was a car tailgating us. Okay, so this car was like this far from our car, and then swiveling like that and going like that, and the person who was driving is like, there's an idiot behind us. And I said, okay, just, don't provoke, just leave it, it's okay. Well, I was not being listened to, because the person who was driving just pressed the brake. And then what happened, we weren't driving very fast, maybe 30 km an hour or something, because we would just come around the corner. But what happened, he pressed the brake, and then the person from behind slammed into us. And the car we were driving was fine, but that guy's car was not fine at all, right? And what happens there, right? You can look at a situation like that in so many different ways. Like, I could go right away like, oh my God, First of all, I can't believe the person I'm driving with is not listening to me, right? Because I'm saying like the right thing to do, and you're not following my instruction. I could go like that, right? Then I can think the person behind us, what the heck was he thinking? Like, why are you following somebody like that? Like, why? What's your problem, right? Pride. He's prideful. He wants to make a point, some kind of point. Like that, right? I could make a whole story like this. What I could also do is like, do I know what the person was thinking who was tailgating us? Do I know what was his reason to do that? It could have been a million things. It could be that he was just showing off and being prideful. It could be. It could also be that he had a pregnant wife in the back of his car and was trying to rush to the hospital. It could have been he was on his phone and not paying attention and had no idea he was doing it. It could have been a million things, right? And then the person beside me not listening to my recommendation, right? Do you hear that? I feel like I'm right or something. This person could have known exactly that that's what that person needed. Because if it wasn't for him and he would have gone out of the way, this person behind us could have crashed into someone else or killed a pedestrian or something, right? Because he wasn't driving safely. So it could have been like the best thing that ever happened to the guy behind, so now he can change his ways and pay more attention, knowing it's not okay. Any situation, because I cannot read the mind of the driver. I cannot read the mind of the guy tailgating us. So who am I to make up a story and think that's the way it happened? And we do it all the time. With everything, we know what's going on. But we don't. The only mind you know is your own. You only know your own thoughts. You don't know anybody else's thoughts. You don't know why people are doing the things they do. You don't. So you just need to be concerned with your own mind and try to fix your own mind, because that's the mind you know, right? And the best way to look at any other situation is they are out there to help me. They're out there to get me enlightened. This whole situation, this whole car crash was there for me so I could rip it apart and look at it and see the emptiness of it, right? Because it's empty. Because I don't know what was going on. I can make all my stories and throw it up, but ultimately I don't know what anybody's motivation was, right? So I think it's a very high way to think of it as they are there for me. They put on this whole show just so I can grow and I can learn and I can become enlightened, right? It's so easy to judge and say this is it, right? Yeah.
Would you say a judgment isn't necessarily a negative? Like, for example, if I consider something as beautiful, that's also a judgment, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because
Sure.
it implies that there is not beautiful.
Yeah.
You know, so it's also a judgment
Yeah.
to perceive something positive about
You need to
something,
know where that comes
right?
from too. Just like this whole situation. Like when you perceive something beautiful, you do the same thing.
Yeah.
Is it beautiful from its own side? You know, maybe Turnjik looks at it and she thinks, that's not beautiful, Jan, it's not, you know,
Yeah.
right? Where does it come from? It comes from you, from your own great deeds from the past. Therefore, you perceive it as beautiful. And therefore, you can perceive situations that might appear really horrible for some people as not horrible. And that's how we want to transform our lives and see everything as beautiful, by understanding how we are creating our future.
But yeah, but I guess my question was more like, that's a nice thing to do, is to perceive more beauty in the world.
Mm-hmm.
But the goal of emptiness, or the perception of direct
Mm-hmm.
perception,
Mhm.
what the goal of Buddhism maybe,
Yeah.
is that to even not. Sorry, I'm getting in trouble here.
Not feeling attached to it?
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
No judgment whatsoever,
Mhm.
because you have what I would say positive judgment and negative judgment.
Sure.
So no judgment at all would be seeing something in its emptiness.
Yeah. Yes and no. It doesn't mean you can't enjoy things, right? Because a Buddha is in bliss all the time, perceives everything as beautiful, because that's how he's put all the causes into place to then become a being that no longer judges things, just is in love with everything at the same time, right? And you get there by understanding that things are empty. That the flowers that you perceive as beautiful are just coming from your own mind, right? So I think anything in your day you can use to help you, right? To help you see the empty. You can dissect anything and try to see its emptiness of it, right? And you can see, you can, use the situations as a guide to get you higher. And you can see people as they're just out there to get you to grow. I was in a supermarket the other day, and there was this man, I don't know if he was homeless, but he looked like he might be, and he asked me, he said, somebody just bought me a box of cereal. I was wondering if you could buy me some milk to go with the cereal so I can eat tomorrow. And I'm thinking, great. I love it when they ask me something specific, right? Because when you give money, you don't know if they'll use it for food or for alcohol or whatever, right? So sometimes it can be a little bit hard. Anyways, so I thought, great, okay. I asked him, what kind of milk would you like? Okay, he wants homo milk, 4 liters. I'm like, okay. I'm already like, okay. Okay, this is good. I'm thinking, this is good. So I go and get him a 4-liter jug. And then as I'm putting it on the counter, he decides that he also needs butter. So he gets this big brick of butter and puts it beside. I hope that's okay. And I'm like, yeah, that's okay. So there I go, again, thinking, okay, now this man, who is he? Do I know who he is? No, I'm going to perceive him as a Buddha. He's a Buddha in disguise. He is helping me see where I still have a little bit of stinginess, because as soon I thought the 4-liter jug was okay, but as soon as he brought the brick of butter, I'm like, yeah, I'll do it, but you know, you're kind of pushing it here, right? That's good. It's good, because he pointed that out to me. I wouldn't have known otherwise. He's showing me, and I'm killing that by seeing it and understanding what's going on. He is providing me with the virtue that I need in order to have high realizations, right? You need to plant your karmic seed somewhere, so the people that appear in your life, they are your garden to plant with. So when he comes and he asks me for that, then yes, of course, I will help you and do that. And so here's your butter, here's your milk. And then he starts bowing to me, you know? And I'm thinking, yeah, something so fishy about the situation. Who is this person anyways, right? And it's nice to live your way like that, to live your life like that. It's kind of fun to see people as suspicious, see them as angels or Buddhas or however you want to call it, see them as they're out there trying to get you the virtue that you need in order to complete your goals, right? It's much more fun than ignoring the person, not giving him anything, or if he would have given, or if I would have given the milk but not the butter, like, you know, and I would have had this whole thing about it, it wouldn't be as fun. It's kind of fun to see people as special, right? People, because I don't know who he is. Again, I don't know his mind. I only know my own mind. And if my own mind was pure enough, I would see him instantly as a Buddha. My mind's not pure enough to see that. But he's helping me get there, right? So therefore, we must not judge another person. That's what Lord Buddha says. That's the whole goal of this course. That's why we study logic. Does that mean that you shouldn't resist evil, not protect people from harm? No, it doesn't mean that. When you see someone in seemingly pain, you help them. You protect them. Absolutely. But you must be careful not to judge, right? You can judge the action, but never the person. And that quote of Lord Buddha, why you need logic, comes from Lord Atisha. Lord Atisha wrote that down in a commentary. And that is class. So we'll close up with the prayers again. And we're doing them in English today.
Would it be possible to do a call and response because we don't have enough copies?
Yeah. Okay, so we're doing the first one again.
Sorry, can you show me?
Yes. Or can you?
Here. Cautious.
No, I know.
I think I got it, I don't know.
Yeah, you did.
Oh, okay.
Beautiful. Wow, that's great. That's fast. Do you got it? Yeah, you got it, sort of. Yeah, looks good.
I just go to
Shall we?
this.
So,
Yeah.
you
Oh, wait,
yeah, and then we just go up.
That's supposed to be the
Yeah,
mountain,
and then
and fingers and
your middle fingers cross, and these ones
Yeah.
forward.
What? So
Yeah,
this is the
yeah,
mountain.
yeah. So just-
I'll try this for the show.
the mountain.
Okay, so here's the great earth,
Here's the great earth,
filled with the smell of incense,
filled with the smell of incense,
covered with a blanket of flowers.
covered with a blanket of flowers,
The great mountain,
the great mountain,
the four continents,
the four continents,
wearing a jewel
wearing a jewel
of the sun and moon.
of the sun and moon.
In my mind,
In my mind,
I make them the paradise of a Buddha
I make them the paradise of a Buddha,
and offer it all to you.
and offer it all to you.
By this deed,
By this deed,
may every living being
may every living being
experience the pure world.
experience the pure world.
Idam Guru Ratna Mandala Kam Niratayami. Beautiful. Then the second verse we do is the dedication. So you can keep your hands at your heart. By the goodness of what I have just done,
By the goodness of what I have just done,
may all beings
may all beings
complete the collection
complete the collection
of merit and wisdom,
of merit and wisdom,
and thus gain the two ultimate bodies
and thus gain the two ultimate bodies
that merit and wisdom make.
that merit and wisdom make.
Thank you. So again, we'll prostrate, but you don't have to if you don't feel comfortable. So next week, no class, and then we'll have 9 weeks in a row straight. Thank you for coming.